Chapter 2449 The Dragon Clan and the Kingdom of Huaxiu 1. He Longjiwanmo's gaze immediately turned friendly, as if he had developed a slight interest in this young man. Ha ha ha. You're quite the flatterer, but let me tell you, I, Yunma, am not the kind of person who can be swayed by a few words. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. Of course I know. I was just telling the truth. His expression turned solemn, and he clasped his hands in a fist and bowed again. I am truly grateful for your protection of the Huaxiu kingdom over the years. Zhang Yi's face was full of genuine emotion. Yuan Mo's gaze towards Zhang Yi became much more friendly. Compared to Guanlongyue, who is a gloomy, saw-mouthed gourd, Zhang Yi has much higher emotional intelligence. Guanlongyue used to think that Heilun was aloof, but that was just an illusion. However, she and Shang Dawen were weak and their words were not pleasant, so he naturally couldn't be bothered to pay them any attention. But Zhang Yi is different. Zhang Yi is both capable and eloquent. Yuan Mo has witnessed everything Zhang Yi has done over the past few years. How could Yuan Mo not feel secretly pleased to be praised by such a talented person? I think you are a very polite junior, and you are speaking the truth. Speak. What brings you here? His enormous dragon claw pointed to the sky. About the moon? Zhang Yi smiled and said, Actually, the matter on the moon has already been resolved. And Lord Yuanma, you seem to know that the problem is no longer a problem. The ancient civilizations, contrary to their usual practice, did not rush to resolve the changes that occurred on the moon. In other words, they already knew that there was a lunar civilization on the moon. Black Dragon yawned. That's right. You should have seen those fake people too. How are they now? I remember they were quite powerful. False person. Zhang Yi pondered the word for a moment upon hearing it, and then couldn't help but laugh. That doesn't seem to be wrong. Because neither of the two Lunarian races was created by the creator Kagago, but rather by artificial beings. At the same time, he gleaned a crucial piece of information from the Black Dragon's tone. They are still very capable. This statement shows that the Dragon Clan was well aware of the strength of the Lunarian civilization. Does that confirm that the Dragon race's strength is in no way inferior to that of the Lunarians, and perhaps even stronger? Zhang Yi's idea was barely formed before he rejected it himself. The weakest leaders of the Radiant Moon Empire and the Dark Moon Empire are at least knights. Of course, the Silver Moon Throne possesses astonishing power at the king level. However, they need to be suppressed and sealed, and have not left the throne for countless ages. However, considering the strength of Bai Longzi Yuanjing and He Long Yuan Mo, judging from Zhang Yi's current level, their strength should not be weaker than that of the first priest of Black Moon. Zhang Yi became even more polite. That's right. While the Moon people are indeed powerful, they are still far inferior to the Dragon Clan. Yuan Jing looked at Zhang Yi, and after the pleasantries, they finally got down to business. You've come here to see me, so just say what you want. I hate beating around the bush with you guys. Zhang Yi's smile faded, and he said earnestly to Yuan Jing, Your Excellency Black Dragon, I sincerely hope to visit the Dragon Kingdom and meet your Dragon Clan's leader. This is a visit from the strongest among the races you protect. I wish to personally express my respect. Furthermore, I obtained a lot of useful information about the future from the moon, which is related to the Druk gods. I believe you will be interested. Zhang Yi succinctly explained his purpose and value. If you want someone to give you face, you have to be of sufficient value to them. Otherwise, they won't give you face just because you're handsome and have a nice way of speaking. Yuan Jing stared at Zhang Yi quietly, and Zhang Yi felt a little uneasy. Although he felt he was quite capable and was confident about the situation before coming here. But how could he possibly know what the dragon's thought process is like? All that is known is that the dragon race at least harbors some goodwill towards the humans of Huaxiu Kingdom. After a long silence, Yuan Jing stared at Zhang Yi and slowly said, You are qualified to enter the Dragon Clan's kingdom. Zhang Yi was overjoyed. At least the trip hadn't been in vain. Thank you, Lord Black Dragon. Zhang Yi secretly breathed a sigh of relief, finally taking the first step in communicating with the dragons. He and Yang Xinxin exchanged a glance. knowing that the road ahead would be even more challenging, but this time, the world of the dragons had opened a door for them. A deep, calm voice came through. Among the dragon race, there are some ancient beings who have witnessed you humans evolving from monkeys into civilization step by step. It is this affection, like that of raising a pet, that makes the dragons retain goodwill towards you. Therefore, my ancestors said that if any of you humans are capable of going to the Dragon Kingdom, I can take you there. The Dragon Clan is the angelic race that supported the rise of humanity on the land of Huashu. In every era, when a new human being is created, the creator chooses a species and infuses it with fragments of ether. The previous generation consisted of reptiles and rodents. In this era, all that was known were apes and some kind of fish, which led to the emergence of modern humans and deep-sea fishmen. During the period when the new humans are growing up, they will be supported and nurtured by ancient human species. That's why the people of Huashu always claim to be descendants of the dragon, but they look completely different. Thank you, sir. Zhang Yi expressed her gratitude once again. They didn't need to make any special preparations. Heilong took Zhang Yi, Yang Xinxin, and Guan Longyue directly to the world beneath the Qinling Mountains. Hey kid, your flying speed is too slow. Use your abilities to get around. Heilong spoke directly to Zhang Yi. He spoke first, and only then did Zhang Yi open the dimensional gate. In less than 10 minutes, they arrived at the Qinling Mountains and began their descent from the Qinling Tianyuan. It had been a long time since Zhang Yi had been to this place. He was very familiar with everything here, and there were still many workers mining the remaining yuan stone ore. However, among the figures that appeared, there were many more strange people. Zhang Yi and his group completely ignored these ordinary people and went straight to the location. Zhang Yi, Yang Xinxin, Guan Longyue, and Ho Tu, following He Longyuanjing's guidance, headed towards a hidden location shrouded in layers of light. As they ventured deeper, a strong sense of spatial distortion enveloped their bodies. Zhang Yi's heart skipped a beat, realizing that this was no ordinary underground world, but a meticulously arranged and heavily guarded alternate dimension. As a top-tier spatial ability user, he was extremely familiar with spatial fluctuations. In other words, the entire dragon race is actually located in the underground world, within a certain spatial node, in a different dimension that has been created. Instead of simply carving out caves in the underground world like the Ulu Empire or the Nash Kingdom. Chapter 2450 The Dragon Clan and the Kingdom of Huashu, 2. Is this the dragon's territory? Yang Xinxin asked in a low voice, her voice filled with barely suppressed excitement and curiosity. Yes, Guan Longyue replied, her eyes filled with awe. This other dimensional space hides not only the civilization of the dragon race, but also an indescribable ancient power. Outsiders can never enter without the guidance of the dragon race. He Longyuan remained silent, only nodding slightly, as if everything was under his control. His body passed through that invisible spatial barrier, carrying Zhang Yi and his group across that invisible barrier. As they passed through that spatial barrier, the sight before them was breathtaking. The deep darkness transformed into a dazzling brilliance, as if we had entered another world. The scene here was completely beyond Zhang Yi's imagination. This space is a wonderful blend of ancient and modern landscapes, where vast mountains and primeval forests intertwine, and deep canyons and clear lakes complement each other perfectly. High-tech buildings and spaceships stand on this land, presenting a perfect integration with the natural environment. Ancient myths and futuristic technology coexist, as if two different dimensions have intersected, giving this place a mysterious and powerful aura. This is the world of dragons. Yuan Jing's voice was deep and solemn, a world that transcends time and space. Only under the guidance of the Dragon Clan can beings from the outside world set foot here. Zhang Yi stared intently at this world, his heart filled with awe. He had never seen such a magnificent sight before. Everything before him seemed to shatter his understanding of the world. This is not just a distant civilization, but more like an existence that stands in opposition to the rules of the universe, at the edge of time. This is so amazing. The last place that gave me this feeling was the heavenly palace of the Ihan clan. Yang Xinshin said softly, her eyes sparkling. She had never imagined that the dragon's territory would be so magnificent, even more mysterious than any legendary place. This place is truly extraordinary. Zhang Yi sighed, his gaze following Yuan Jing's direction to the towering buildings in the distance. There seemed to be endless wisdom and power hidden there, as if every brick contained endless secrets. As they continued onward, the space before them suddenly began to distort strangely, and amidst the overlapping of light and shadow, a figure suddenly emerged from the void. The man was dressed in a white robe. He was not tall, only about 1.6 meters, with deep eyes and long silver hair that reached down to his bare ankles, like silver moonlight shining on a lake. His expression was cold and indifferent. "We're old acquaintances." By Longzi, Yuanma. Yuanma stood there, like a god stepping out of a dream, his aura perfectly matching the solemn majesty of the dragon race. He didn't greet them, but just quietly looked at Zhang Yi and the others, his eyes filled with an unfathomable mystery, but his handsome but sullen face remained as indifferent as ever. Zhang Yi stepped forward and greeted him with a cupped hand. "Lord Bailong, it's been a long time." Yuan Imo did not respond immediately, but merely glanced coldly at the three of them. However, when that gaze fell on Zhang Yi, it changed slightly. "This human has grown up so fast?" Bai Longzi was somewhat shocked. "The last time I saw Zhang Yi, he was just an insignificant being with an ability index of over 20,000. But now..." His eyes flickered for a moment, but he quickly concealed it. "Our ancestors knew you would come." He spoke slowly, his voice seeming to come from ancient times. "Let me pick you up." Zhang Yi was shocked. It turned out that the ancestors of the dragon clan already knew about their arrival. That means the dragons had already foreseen their fate and its arrival. Zhang Yi felt that this was not just a simple meeting, but a meeting of destinies. "Please lead the way, sir." Zhang Yi nodded in response. He didn't say anything more. After all, when facing an ancient being with a higher civilization and seemingly more powerful precognitive abilities, any extra words seemed pale and powerless. After all, even people like Gao Chongkong and Di Shitian can predict the future. It's hard to imagine what level time manipulation ability users in legendary advanced civilizations could achieve. Yuan Imo nodded slightly, turned around and led the way, with Zhang Yi and Yang Xinshin following closely behind, while Guanlongma silently stayed by their side. The four of them traversed through forests and mountains, venturing into the deeper dragon territory. With each step Zhang Yi took, he could feel the endless mysterious power, as if every inch of this land was permeated with an ancient aura. After traversing winding roads, they finally arrived deep within a majestic mountain range. There stands a majestic mountain peak that soars into the clouds and whose top is nowhere to be seen. On the mountain peak, there are many strangely shaped, massive palace-like buildings that resemble ancient architecture from the Huashu Kingdom, but are clearly more technologically advanced. The building is magnificent, with ancient runes adorning every inch of the walls, radiating a mysterious glow. They seem to span millions of years of history, engraving the legends and glory of the dragon race. This is the sacred mountain of the dragon race. Yuan Emo stood at the foot of the distant mountain, his voice deep and dignified. "Here, you will meet the patriarch of the dragon clan." Zhang Yi felt a chill run down his spine, realizing that the true significance of this trip had begun. Facing the dragon clan chief was not just an opportunity to meet him, but a choice that would determine their future destinies. The group stopped using their abilities and instead moved forward steadily. The enormous sacred mountain ahead was taller than any mountain range on Earth. The mountaintop was shrouded in thick white fog, as if the boundary between heaven and earth had been blurred by the mist. The surroundings were eerily quiet. The only sound was the gentle rustling of the wind through the mountains. As they continued on their journey, Zhang Yi felt the air becoming increasingly fresh, as if every breath was filled with the power of nature. The mountains gradually became steeper, and finally they came to a huge cave entrance. The cave entrance resembles a natural carving, with ancient runes covering the surrounding rocks, shimmering faintly. Yuan Mo stopped and gestured to Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin, indicating that they should enter. The temple of our dragon race is just ahead. Yuan Mo's voice was deep and carried a mysterious majesty. You are about to meet our ancestor. A warm aura emanated from the depths of the cave, a power unique to the dragon race, as if every inch of air contained a powerful life force. As they slowly entered the cave, the scene inside gradually came into view. Zhang Yi, Yang Xinxin, and Guan Longyue entered an extremely spacious underground world. Before me lay a naturally formed hot spring pool, its clear water rippling and radiating a soft glow. A thick white mist rose up, and the humidity in the air was very high. Fortunately, Zhang Yi and the others were wearing combat uniforms. Otherwise, they would have found the environment very uncomfortable. However, considering that dragons are reptiles, it is understandable that they prefer this warm and humid environment. Chapter 2450, The Dragon Clan and the Kingdom of Huaxiu 3. The underground palace of the Dragon Clan's ancestor was surprisingly a huge hot spring. Amidst the swirling smoke, Yuan Jing and Yuan Mo silently stepped aside, keeping their eyes down and leaving the stage to Zhang Yi and the other two. Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin exchanged a glance, then both looked at Guan Longyue. After all, it was their first time here, but Guan Longyue was experienced. Guan Longyue stepped forward. Let's go. The dragon ancestor is a very kind elder. Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin followed her as they walked forward. The sound of splashing water could be heard, as if someone was leisurely bathing in a huge hot spring. As they approached the hot spring, which resembled a lake, they finally saw the form of that ancient being through the swirling white steam. In the pool, a huge blue dragon was submerged in the water, seemingly resting peacefully. The dragon's body was enormous. Although it was covered by the pool water, Zhang Yi and the others could still feel its suffocating size. The scales of this azure dragon are like dazzling gems, each scale shimmering with a warm luster and radiating vibrant life force. Although only a glimpse of its scales and claws could be vaguely seen, the powerful pressure emanating from it made Zhang Yi's heart tighten involuntarily. This is the ancestor of the dragon race? Yang Xinxin could hardly hide her shock. The giant dragon before her seemed to represent endless antiquity and mystery. Zhang Yi nodded slightly. He had never seen such a massive and powerful being. As a powerful individual with an ability index of 50,000, Zhang Yi could clearly sense that the dragon's aura far exceeded his limits. That kind of pressure was in no way weaker than when he faced the Silver Moon throne. However, on the other hand, when facing beings with an ability index of over 70,000, he felt about the same. They could all be easily subdued. Guan Longyue spoke first. Humans from Huaxiu Kingdom, Guan Longyue, Zhang Yi, and Yang Xinxin, greet senior dragon ancestor. Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin also respectfully nodded in greeting. Greetings, senior dragon ancestor. As the group finished speaking, the azure dragon in the hot spring pool stirred slightly. Its sleeping eyes slowly opened, their light shimmering like stars, revealing all. The dragon's lips moved slightly, emitting a deep and languid voice. You've come. The sound seemed to come from the depths of heaven and earth, extremely profound and far-reaching, giving one a sense of endless years and vicissitudes. Zhang Yi was shaken. He felt that the sound was not just a physical vibration, but penetrated the depths of his soul. Ancestor, Zhang Yi said respectfully, we have come here for one reason, to express our gratitude to the Dragon Clan for their support of our Huaxiu Kingdom's human race over the years. Such kindness will be forever remembered by our Huaxiu Kingdom. If there is anything we can do to help you, please feel free to ask. One more polite remark. Zhang Yi paused briefly, then continued. Besides that, there are some things I'm ignorant about, and I'd like to ask you some questions. We hope to receive help from the Dragon Clan. Qinglong nodded slightly, seemingly unsurprised by Zhang Yi and the others' visit. It slowly raised its massive body from the hot spring, and as it moved, the atmosphere of the entire cave seemed to change. Its massive dragon had lowered slightly, its gaze piercing through time and space, landing on Zhang Yi. I know who you are. I also know why you came here. In the long river of fate, everything follows predetermined rules that are difficult to break. Zhang Yi raised his head, and an idea in his mind became clearer and clearer. The ancient being before us, the dragon ancestor, truly possesses the power of time. He can see the future. The eyes of Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin held a profound sense of shock. If the other party is truly omniscient and omnipotent, what can they possibly say? Doesn't that mean everything I'm going to do is within the other party's expectations? Zhang Yi found it somewhat absurd. If an omniscient and omnipotent being truly existed, wouldn't that person be even more powerful than the Aihen and Druk? Omniscience does not necessarily mean omnipotence. The dragon ancestor himself said that he could see the trajectory of fate, but he could not change it. While the three remained silent, the old dragon, which did not appear old but was of enormous size, slowly spoke. Stop calling me ancestor all the time. You are not members of the dragon clan. You can call me by my name. My name is Fushi. These two words struck the depths of the three people's hearts like a heavy hammer. Zhang Yi suddenly raised his head, his pupils contracted sharply, and he even felt a ringing in his ears. Otherwise, how could he have heard such an absurd sentence? Fushi? Did he mishear? Was it just a coincidence of having the same name and surname, or were they homophones with different characters? Because Fushi was the cultural ancestor of the Huashu kingdom and the first of the three sovereigns. Legend has it that Fushi and Manhwa, a brother and sister, created humankind. But those are all mythical beings. Wait, myths have a long history and have been passed down through generations. Since they have been passed down to this day, they must have their origins. After years of research, Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin have confirmed that many myths are based on real events that occurred in ancient times. Zhang Yi still found it hard to believe that the azure dragon in front of him was Fushi. However, it is not entirely impossible. In human murals, Fushi and Manhwa are depicted as having human heads and snake bodies. And dragons do indeed possess this form. The three of them were completely bewildered for a long time. Yang Xinxin spoke first and asked, Fushi is the cultural ancestor of the Huashu kingdom. If you really are that person, you have lived for at least tens of thousands of years. Even knowing that dragons are immortal beings, they were still deeply shocked. The dragon ancestor pondered for a moment, then said, According to your 6 generations calendar, I have lived for over 200 million years. Zhang Yi, Yang Xinxin, Guanlong Yue. Their minds should be blank at this moment. This is what happens when people come into contact with things that are completely beyond their imagination. Are dragons really that long-lived? Zhang Yi couldn't help but look at the black dragon and white dragon beside him. Seemingly aware that Zhang Yi was pondering their age, He Longyuan said calmly, Don't look at me like that. Compared to your 6 generations, we are indeed long-lived, but our lifespan is no more than 3,000 years. His gaze fell upon the dragon ancestor in the hot spring lake. But our ancestors were immortal. The word immortality sounds so enviable. However, after thinking about many things, Zhang Yi calmed down. The Eternals, aren't they simply achieving spiritual immortality by transcending their physical bodies? In the end, they even got tired of living and voluntarily returned to the ether. Those who can modify their physical bodies, such as Zhou, or those who can also get rid of their physical bodies and leave their spiritual bodies, a collection of etheric fragments and memories, in the material world, can also be considered immortals. Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you.